everybody. I'm Dr. Noelle Cloven with Texas Oncology in Fort Worth, and we're here in Chicago at ASCO 2025. And today I'm interviewing Dr. Rachel Grisham about the Verastem RAMP 201 ENGOT studies.
Thanks so much, Noelle. So yes, my name's Rachel Grisham, and I'm a gynecologic medical oncologist at Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center. And I'm so excited to be here today to talk to you about these important studies.
Yeah, thank you. So would you mind starting by telling us a little bit about low-grade serous cancer in general? What makes it unique?
Of course. So low-grade serous ovarian cancer is a distinct type of ovarian cancer. And really, over the past 10 years, we've learned that it's clinically, histologically, and molecularly different from high-grade serous ovarian cancer. And of course, as we all know, it has much lower response rates to chemotherapy than our patients with high-grade serous ovarian cancer. Despite that, until recently, we've had no FDA-approved treatments specifically for low-grade serous ovarian cancer. And instead, we've generally treated it with the same types of chemotherapy that we use for our patients with high-grade serous ovarian cancer.
So how was the RAMP 201 study designed, and what did it show?
Yeah, so the RAMP 201 study is a study specifically for patients with recurrent low-grade serous ovarian cancer who had received at least one prior line of chemotherapy. These patients needed to have measurable disease. But after that initial line of chemotherapy, they could have had unlimited additional lines of therapy. And this study was designed to answer several important questions. Initially, patients were randomized to either avutometinib by itself or avutometinib in combination with defactinib. Now, avutometinib is a RAF/MEK clamp, and defactinib is a FAK inhibitor. These are both oral therapies. So the first part of the study was designed to see if the combination of the two drugs was more effective than avutometinib by itself. Parts A and B of this study did show that the combination was more effective and had a similar toxicity profile to avutometinib by itself. So in an expansion cohort, we obtained more information about the efficacy of this combination in patients with recurrent low-grade serous ovarian cancer. And then in a final cohort of this study, Part D, which was for dose optimization, the study looked at a lower dose of avutometinib in combination with defactinib and showed that lower dose to be less effective, indicating that the standard dose of avutometinib, 3.2 milligrams twice a week, 3 weeks on, 1 week off, in combination with defactinib, 200 milligrams twice a day, 3 weeks on, 1 week off, is the most effective regimen for women with recurrent low-grade serous ovarian cancer.
Thank you. So, and I guess just recently we heard that the combination received accelerated approval from the FDA for a subset of patients. So tell us more.
Yeah, so such exciting results for our patients with low-grade serous ovarian cancer who've been waiting such a long time for a treatment designed specifically for their type of cancer. So the RAMP 201 study showed an unprecedented response rate and progression-free survival and duration of response for our patients who harbor a KRAS mutation. So about 30% of patients with recurrent low-grade serous ovarian cancer will be found to have a somatic KRAS mutation. Now, amongst those patients enrolled to this study who had a KRAS mutation, the response rate was 44%, the median progression-free survival was 22 months, and the duration of response was over 31 months. So really meaningfully long benefits for these patients. So based on these incredibly promising results for our patients with KRAS mutant recurrent low-grade serous ovarian cancer, the FDA has granted accelerated approval for the combination of avutometinib and defactinib for women with recurrent low-grade serous ovarian cancer harboring a KRAS mutation. So it's so exciting to now finally have an FDA-approved treatment option specifically for these patients.
So that means it's available for us to start using.
You can prescribe it
in
today.
Our clinic. That's awesome.
You
that's
can
really
prescribe
good
it right
news.
now.
That's really good news. So there's also an ongoing study, RAMP 301, that is continuing to evaluate this combination in a broader group of patients. We're excited to have that open and enrollment's continuing, so maybe give the listeners a little bit of information about that study.
Yeah, of course. So the RAMP 301 study is a global study enrolling in the United States, Europe, Australia, and soon to be open in Asia. Again, for women with recurrent low-grade serous ovarian cancer who've received at least one prior line of chemotherapy. Now, this is a confirmatory randomized phase 3 study where patients who enroll to the study are randomized to either receive the combination of avutometinib and defactinib or physician's choice of standard of care therapy, which could be pegylated liposomal doxorubicin, weekly paclitaxel, oral anastrozole, or oral letrozole. Now, this study is incredibly important for several reasons. Number one, we hope for this to confirm the responses seen in the RAMP 201 study so that we can achieve full FDA approval for these drugs for patients with recurrent low-grade serous ovarian cancer with a KRAS mutation. But also, what about our patients without a KRAS mutation, so the other 2/3 of patients with low-grade serous ovarian cancer? Well, we know that low-grade serous ovarian cancer is driven by other alterations in the MAP kinase pathway other than KRAS. These patients can also harbor BRAF mutations, NF1 mutations, BRAF fusions, MAP2K1 alterations. Some of these alterations are actually quite hard to identify on standard next-generation sequencing. And we've seen activity of these drugs both in our patients with and without a KRAS mutation. And so these drugs may potentially be more effective than standard of care therapy also for our KRAS wild-type patients. So in this study, we will now be able to fully evaluate the activity of avutometinib and defactinib in all patients with recurrent low-grade serous ovarian cancer, regardless of KRAS mutation, in order to determine if these drugs are more effective than standard of care therapy. And this study's been enrolling very well throughout the world, and so hopefully we'll have updated results on that study soon.
Thank you so much. I'm just so excited. It's always hard to find treatments for patients with rare tumors, so kudos to you and everyone else who's participating in this trial for working so hard to get these drugs to our patients.
And thank you so much to all of our patients who've enrolled on these studies to make this possible. Thank you.